And I'll raise up my hand.
So, good day, everyone. Good day. You're welcome once again to Nido Talk, Nido Russia Talks. And with me is Chinedun. My name is Chinedun Defo, and we have very important personality here. So we have Dr. Chairman, Dr. Godwin Ibe, and we have Mr. David. You guys are welcome to this program. So
Thanks, Father.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, host. Happy to be here once again.
Yeah, how are you doing, Mr. David? I hope you're good.
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's cool. Mr. Chairman, like your suit.
Oh, thank you, thank you. One looking at my suit would not understand that well. You know, the economy, the geopolitical environment is tough, and this country is facing 9 rounds, 8, and if not 9 rounds of sanctions. But yeah, we still have to look good and smile for the camera.
We're still surviving. That is the most important thing. At least you're not having a lot of things to contend with in terms of life. Thank God for that. At least there is security.
We give
Anyway,
God the glory.
today we have a lot of topics to discuss. We have a lot of things, a lot of content to really throw up, and we have to talk about this. First, we have the IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu, released. I don't know if you've had a lot of it has been going around the internet. People have a lot to talk about that. Of the discovery of the huge pipeline theft in the Niger Delta region, OPEC Plus oil production, and lots more to discuss. But let's first of all talk about the IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu. I know probably you guys have heard about it, the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the discharge of Nnamdi Kanu. Sometimes we do hear that, oh, he was discharged, but he wasn't acquitted. A lot to be discussed on that. So let's hear your opinion. Mr. Chairman, what do you have to say about that?
Okay. I would have loved Mr. David to talk first, but okay. About the release, if it's legal, some say it's illegal or political. Nnamdi Kanu has been like a savior to many Nigerians, and a savior not just for the sake of it, but because of the situation a lot of Nigerians have found themselves: injustice, impunity, poverty, abject poverty, insecurity, and the desire to have a better life. And somebody who points that out and offers a solution, of course, you'd expect that person to be made a savior and a messiah to them. And this person, the Nnamdi Kanu, was arrested illegally, bundled into Nigeria over some allegations. It's been a tussle, legal tussle. Um, Even the decision of the court sometimes have not been obeyed in this case. You know, there's been a lot of contempt by the security officers and or security apparatus. But finally, the appeal court has said, yeah, he should be released. The question is, why wasn't it done before? Why is it being done now that we already have another? We already have now a new people's favorite, and people's favorite not just relating to only IPO, but all around Nigeria, a new people's man, or who people see as the Messiah or the Moses leading them to a promised land. I mean, based on the feedback we get from the social media. So why now? Is it to cause some kind of clash of the titans? Is it to sow discord or division? Or is it that the court all of a sudden realized that, wow, why do we keep this guy who we illegally bundled into Nigeria from Kenya under sham allegations. Why all of a sudden the realization that he needs to be freed? Some people have said, I note some comments, and people have said, well, let him be free, whether it's legal or political, yeah? Let him just be free. But now, you cannot just say that, because you have to anticipate what is done for, is what is his security, both the security of Nnamdi Kanu, the security of Peter Obi. Is that some kind of ulterior motive to blame one side for something, that is happening in the theater of politics? So this causes lots of questions. Lots of questions arise based on the timing of this release. But we are happy that anyone who is acquitted of any allegation is a cause of joy. I'm happy he's released, and I hope that he gets the justice that he deserves. And all Nigerians who are also facing illegal detention, illegal arrest, should be able to have treatment of justice and be made free.
Now, the thing is this, I really want to hear, I know, yeah, a lot of people from that extraction, the extraction where he came from, the Igbo extraction, most of them, they are happy that he's being released. Well, the question is, we want to know, what do we think? Is it political? Because what can we right, say about that when it comes to being politically motivated? What can we draw out from that? Mr. David, what can you say about that?
Concerning thank you for having me. I want to go in this way. Concerning Nnamdi Kanu's I see it as a win for the IPOB leader, because the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. And if you follow the court proceeding and everything, you will know that and the way Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped from Kenya and brought into Nigeria, you will definitely know, if you're somebody who is frequent with the judiciary case, you will know Nnamdi Kanu he will definitely win that case, because the way and process that the Nigerian government follow to arrest that innocent freedom fighter, it's not the proper way at all. Definitely, all sane mind knows the federal government is going to lose the case. In regards if the release of Nnamdi Kanu is political, I wouldn't want to believe that it's political, because the case was properly fought in the court. Kudos to the lawyers and the barristers who stood for Nnamdi Kanu. They are professionals, and they are well done, and they did their work. And I believe his release was not is not being engineered by the federal government to cause chaos between the supporters of Peter Obi and supporters of Nnamdi Kanu. And to be frank and sincere with you, the release of Nnamdi Kanu is going to affect the mobilization of Peter Obi, because from some broadcasts we've seen in the past, from the great freedom fighter, the leader who we all admire and admonish, Nnamdi Kanu, is not a supporter of Peter Obi. And I think really winning his case at this time, which we need, we all are following Peter Obi, and we are believing that it's going to bring the new Nigeria. And the release of Nnamdi Kanu at this particular time, it's suicidal. I will just pray that the good Lord will touch the mind of Nnamdi Kanu to be able to see what we also see in Peter Obi. That's my point of view. Thank you.
My own take is this. You see, we all have our perception about the whole thing. Well, just like the last speaker said, we shouldn't rule out the possibility that this is politically motivated. In the past, a lot of political actors, they've been trying very hard to pin IPOB to Peter Obi, because they have nothing against him. They're looking for a way to get him, just looking for a cockroach in his cupboard. So they want to pin IPOB to him. Now, releasing, you remember that the IPOB, one of their strongest points is that they want to pull out from the contraption called Nigeria. They want to have their own succeed. They want to succeed from the nation, the country as a whole, and have their own nation. And they have been propagating that there will be no election in Biafra land, there will be no election in Southeast and some South. They make sure of that. And some of the actors, even within the IPOB, they are not in support of Peter Obi. They are not in support of the election. They are still holding on strongly that there will be no election in Southeast, even though there has been some some elements that tries to be sympathetic towards the movement of the Peter Obi movement. Then, even at that, the idea that it's not a politically calculated move should not be striked out completely. Okay, because if you look at it now, just like you said, it's going to affect if it's not properly managed. If it's not properly managed, it's going to affect the mobilization of Peter Obi, because how are we sure? It's no. The thing is, I'm quite the way I speak right now. I'm a little bit more sympathetic towards this issue because I happen to come from this region. I happen to come from this geopolitical zone. Whether I believe it or not, whether I want to admit it or not, one way or the other, it affects me as a person. It affects me, the group, the extraction, my tribe. It affects people from that region. So I'm quite sympathetic. I'm quite sentimental towards this topic. But the way I'm seeing this, right now, if Peter Obi, if his strategy, if he's operating at a 60, right now he should be operating at 110 or a 120, because it would. I don't. If someone thinks that what just happened is not going to affect nothing, then I think you should go back to the drawing board. If you think that what happened right now shouldn't, it's not going to change the dynamics of the game, I don't know. I mean, you should really open your eyes. So that being said, let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's see what's going to unfold within the a few couple of months towards the election. Let's pray that it doesn't complicate issues. Okay. Moving further, talking about, let's go down south, the Niger Delta, the issues confronting the Niger Delta. That's actually, Nigeria is supposed to be a diversified economy, but from the look of things right now, it's still driving the big chunk of its economy from oil. And there's a problem in the Niger Delta region. It's talking about the oil theft, a huge pipeline theft that has been going on for decades. Only God knows one, for a long time. And it's just being discovered. What do we think? What intake do you have about that? Let's start with Dr. Godwin. What do you think about the
Nigeria? It's a bad example of having oil, because oil should be Dubai would be a good example, and Nigeria would be a bad example. It all goes to show how having oil can be black gold or a black curse. Like you said, in Nigeria, we should not only have a diversified economy, but we should be by far the richest country in Africa. And I don't say to spite other Africans. Other African countries know quite well the resources we have in Africa. They know, in Nigeria rather, they know quite well. They know that if not for corruption, we should do better. Is it only us that doesn't know? Look at lots of irony. We live near the Atlantic Ocean, where I stay in Lagos, it's a stone throw to the Atlantic Ocean. But yet we have lack of clean water. We have sunlight, adequate sunlight, but we lack energy, whether it's solar energy, whether it's, any form of energy that could be utilized, converted from solar energy to other types of energy, mostly renewable. We are moving into the world of renewable energy. We have crude oil, but I'll quote Tony Elumelu, who said 95% of our oil is stolen. So we have only 5% to account for. It's not. It's just iron. It's only Nigeria. Like, let me not say only Nigeria, but it's only few countries like Nigeria you can find this. And if you say you don't believe Tony Elumelu, for example, let me give another person's name. Pastor Adeboye of Redeemed. He said 80% of our oil is stolen. So if you say, okay, the truth lies somewhere between, let's say 90% of our oil is stolen, it's just despicable. It's just ironical. We should be mostly be living much better than we are. And then when you consider the fact that we have a capacity to produce this much oil, but then we have to export the stolen oil and the ones that remain, and then still import advanced oil products and still give subsidy to oil importers. So imagine, let's give an example. Imagine you sell oil for $1, or let's say $1, and then you import oil products, fuel, petrol for $3. Who is the donkey? Who's the donkey? Is it the person selling the oil for $1 or the person who is buying the fuel for $3? Who is the donkey in this equation? It's so, I mean, where subsidy money could have been used to, if you calculate all the subsidy money that has been spent in Nigeria, you can build very, very, very good refineries. Now let's talk about conflict in Ukraine, for example, which we have now, Russia-Ukraine conflict. The amount of oil which Ukraine refines under conflict, constant shelling, is more than what Nigeria produces. And Nigeria does not have, it's not in an international conflict. Russia has undergone 9 or 8 rounds of sanctions, if it's not getting to 9 now, but it's still an oil giant, both in production of oil and production of advanced oil products. Rome was not built in a day, but we are very far from that Rome. We are very far from the Rome. Lots of now the richest person in Africa is Dangote, but the poorest person in Africa by GDP per capita is in Nigeria. The only country Nigeria loses to in poverty is another country, South Sudan or something like this, which is under, also in a military conflict. So the richest person in Africa is from Nigeria, but you still find the poorest there. It's only in Nigeria who can have all this, and you can also, it's only in Nigeria you can see somebody bragging about success, saying that, well, if not for, maybe, I don't know if it's a joke or if it's let me be careful about this, but I think I've seen a publication where someone said, if not for insecurity, if not for poverty, if not for suffering, if not for inflation, the administration is doing very well. I don't know. I hope it's not true. Let's hope that this statement wasn't really made by an official. But if you look at this statement, you can see that it holds some element of truth, because the ruling class is always boasting about the achievement. They've just given awards, 400 and something awards. For what? But we're still having 95, or let's say close to 90% of our oil stolen 40% of Nigerians live on abject poverty. 40% of Nigerians do not know anything about tomorrow. They have given their self to God. That's they have put all, not just their hope and their trust in God, but they have put their life, history, and their future. They have given everything to God because they do not know tomorrow. If you are living on less than a family of 5 is living on less than $1 a day, and there's nothing less than $1 because it's just $0, and you have a family of 5 living on $1 a day, and they survive that day, how do you expect them to be sure about tomorrow? Because they are at the bottom of the pit. You know, I once said in one of the programs we are living that all Nigerians deserve an achievement, not those 40 people that got awards. All Nigerians in Nigeria deserve an award from the federal government for survival.
Wow.
That's the award that should be given, not that those one. All Nigerians just share the award. You survived. You lived to the next day. Because basically that's how far we are from Rome. Some will say Rome is not built in a day, but I'm saying forget that. We are very far from Rome. We are supposed to be not the Rome of that century. We're supposed to be the Rome of this 21st century. And we're supposed to be the Rome of Africa. We're supposed to be the Rome of today. But we are very, very far from it. And we don't seem to have laid the foundation blocks to get ourselves out of poverty. And like Peter Obi says, our theft is organized sanctioned theft because it's impossible to steal this 95% of oil without the knowledge of the government because of the fact that it needs to go through ships. The ships are trackable on radar, but you need permission to enter territorial waters. You need also everything is recorded in database, where it's coming from, where the oil is going to, who is sold to. All this information are out there in public databases. So since 95% of our oil is sanctioned by the government, theft sanctioned by the government, it shows that we have a long way to go in terms of rescuing our country. And the truth has to be said, it's not meant for anyone to like what I say or to feel good about what I say or to even agree with me. It's only just to say, is it true or false? And if it's true, then we have a long way to go. Thank you.
Speaking about the oil theft and speaking about our economy and how 95%, 90% of our oil revenue is being stolen and carted away by the elites. Of course, speaking of the oil theft, it doesn't happen. It's not being propagated by the common Nigeria. It's done by the high and mighty. It's done by the big shots. Just like you said, it has to go through some procedures. It has to go through some paperwork documentation before it gets to the international waters. Of course, the government has to know about it. And this is not something that happened. It's not something that started 2 years ago. I believe that it has been since the past administration. So we see the issue that is confronting us as a nation. There are a lot of things that has to be fixed, and to me, I'm being honest, and this is my own take. I don't think it will take Peter Obi to fix all the mayhem, but it's going to be a starting point. He's going to start something, but he has a lot to fix. You fix the economy, you fix the oil theft, you fix the insecurity, you fix the electricity, you fix, oh my God, there's a lot of things. You fix the borders, you have to secure the border up in the north, the Chad Basin, the northeast, northwest. You fix the education. Everything is wrong. Every single thing is wrong. I can't even mention a particular aspect of the economy that is doing quite well. We still rely heavily on imported commodities from other countries. Agri produce, we still import that. We still import those. At some point, embargo was laid on the importation of rice, but of course, they still import it up north. because we have a very porous border. There's a lot of things that has to be put in place. Mr. David, you have something to add to this oil theft?
Yes, thank you so much. Concerning the oil theft, first and foremost, I want to congratulate General Tompolo for the massive work he did this period. As a former Niger Delta freedom fighter general, I have a broad knowledge concerning oil theft, the Niger Delta region. The oil thief in our region is done by both the poor and the rich, not only the elite or the rich people. It is done by both the poor and the rich. And something we need to understand that I oil everybody is involved in it. Both the police, the soldier, the naval, they are all involved in it. The traditional rulers in Niger Delta, they are all involved in it. It's a big business. It's a lucrative business. As we are talking right now, bunkering is going on in Niger Delta, in different creeks, in different bushes.
Oh, it's not yet over?
It's not yet. It can never be over.
Really?
That's something we need to understand, that every major pipeline that carries crude oil, the militant in Nigeria has the map of every pipeline in the whole south, from the west down to the east. As long as it is the Niger Delta map, there are oil pipelines that goes through the river, through the bushes, everywhere. And these militant leaders, they have the map. They know where they can locate pipe that carries oil. That is why it is easy for them to threaten the federal government that they will blow up a pipeline. Now, the oil business, it's a very lucrative business in South South. In South South, we have a common word. We say there is nothing like ritual, blood money. The real ritual is oil money. Yes. Now, this bunkering business is done by normal poor people. They go to oil pipeline, they cut it. In those days, after cutting the pipeline, it is very hard for them to fix it back. They leave it, starts gushing out. But presently, there are some experts that was brought from the Western world. They know how to cut the pipeline, and they know how to seal it after taking the quantity of air they want. So after sealing it, nobody will know that such pipeline has been tampered with. But in those days, you hear there's a pipeline that has been vandalized in so area. The Nigerian government will go there and seal it up. Then they will know that so places you can find people who are into oil thief. But for present, as I'm talking to you now, they have experts that know how to cut the pipeline.
No more vandalization, just theft.
Yes, they've upgraded.
Wow, experts.
So after
no more vandalization, just theft now.
Just go there, they steal
This
the
is
oil
deep.
and they seal it back, and nobody will know, nobody will be aware of it. And I tell you nothing but the truth, that before you can successfully, I say again, before you can successfully steal oil, you must go to the Naval and settle the admiral or the head of Naval there. You will go to the JTF, you go and settle them. All these persons are aware of it. When you're talking about the security personnel going after oil thieves, it's very funny. It's as if a thief wants to catch a thief. It is very impossible. They will not sell out because they are all billionaires from the oil thief. It's benefiting everybody in South, in Niger Delta, even in the North, in one way or the other. The only person who have showed commitment right from time is Tompolo. That's why you saw that during this administration, they gave him again. Because I remember during the Jonathan's era, when General Tompolo was given the mandate to go after oil thieves in the Niger Delta region. Then I was still with him by his grace then. I witnessed how Tompolo himself destroyed a lot of vessels, 300 metric tons, 1,000 metric tons, 600 metric tons of crude oil belonging to fellow militant general like himself. A man who can destroy a vessel of oil belonging to fellow militant general, top of a civilian. So it's a man with courage. It's a man I know that can deliver. When we heard some weeks ago, or some months ago, that the people has been given the mandate to go after ethics, we all know that good results will come out from it. But I think we should pray for him, because the people involved in oil tips, they are too big. There are people that matters in the country. There are people that I bet you the investigation which they begin now concerning the oil tips, it will lead to nowhere, because the people involved are the people in government, are traditional rulers. Most of our if I begin to mention names of traditional rulers in South South that are involved, and in the North that are involved in oil thief, you'll be so shocked, because these days we have them, because we are from South South. We are. I was a former fighter, so I understand how this thing works. So I think it's just the grace of God, and I believe in the person of Peter Obi. I believe that man has all what it takes to go after it, because going after it is like a suicide mission. It's like a suicide mission. You can get yourself killed, assassinated, because I see even your brother can even be involved. Because for you to transport, let me say, 30,000 metric tons of oil, you need nothing less than 100 people involved in that business. You need not less than 100 people. Everybody has their role to play. The police has their role to play. The soldiers has their role to play. The Navy has their role to play. For you to be able to transport 30,000 metric tons away from Nigeria's shore, because you will need a lot of 1,000 metric tons. You will need more than 2,600 metric tons, because you have to come to the creek, fill your oil, take them past the waters down to Cotonou waters, because most times these ships they stop at Cotonou waters. That's where the vessel is. Then they bring like 10 1,000 metric tons, bring like 20 300 or 600 batches. They will bring them down to Nigerian creeks to steal the oil. They transport them every night. They take them. Where is this 600 metric tons passes on the waters that we have never? And never has this. They have their new equipment. Once there is a vessel in Nigerian water, they can detect it. But many times these little ships, 1,000 metric tons, are detected, but they pay DFA. Why? Because they have been settled. So I think the issue of oil tips will go a long way, except we have a responsible government from the federal government that is willing and genuinely ready to fight it. Even if your mother is the one involved, your father is the one involved, you are ready to fight it. Without that, I don't think we have a headroom. Thank you so much.
Man, this is deeper than we thought, because from what you're saying and giving us an insight as someone who comes from that region, a lot that I think there are a lot that there are a lot. It's a lot that there's more to it than meets the eye. It takes the locals, it takes the indigents of the particular place that knows the nitty-gritties of what goes on in those places. Of course, one thing is that the journalists, they of course they are going to report what even the high and mighty have to. They also have to proofread what they have to report, because who knows, maybe the owners of these big media houses could also be implicated. So probably because just like you said, it didn't start today. It started long, and there are names that wouldn't be mentioned.
Obviously
are involved, but those names will never be mentioned.
I want to add something. I want to add something. You mentioned something, David, which is quite important. You mentioned that unless a serious government that wants to stop it, even though his mother is involved, I don't think that's enough. The reason is because it's like marijuana or I don't know, prostitution. There's a high demand for something, and the high demand is caused by poverty. Someone is going to have a deal where he's going to only cooperate. His role is just to cooperate, to let that vessel pass. And after that deal, he doesn't know anything about where he will get food again. He don't know. He graduated 20 years ago. His certificate, nobody needs it. Even the university that gave it to him also don't need it. Yeah? And no job. He don't know anybody, so he cannot get job since 20 years he graduated. That he even managed to graduate. And so many, that's just an example of the corruption. You need to know somebody to be useful or productive. You don't, the high cost of production, no light, no electricity. So even if you say you want to produce something, the high cost will make it impossible for you to compete with cheap products from China. Yeah. Even if you say you want to sell something now, okay, you want to sell something now, and then because of the problem with IPOB says stay at home order. Yeah. 1 week, 2 weeks, you're at home. Yeah. And then maybe that business has to do with, let's assume it has to do with, let's say assume it's chicken, your chicken you're selling. The chicken needs to be frozen. You don't have constant light, but you manage to freeze this one this time, and you hope that you will sell it tomorrow. Then stay at home order for 2 weeks, or even if it's 3 days. So there are so many businesses that are very time sensitive. They are sensitive to cost of production, sensitive to business climate. Even if a government really wants, and then your mother say, my wicked son that has become president, my wicked son, you have stopped the family from escaping poverty because you want to fight corruption, but there is no other way you have provided for us to get out of poverty. So you have to, it's much deeper than fighting corruption. Without fighting corruption, without providing a way to fish, a way for the people to get out of poverty, a way for people to utilize these people, employ them, give them something to do so that they can feed themselves and their family, then you are also being just unduly wicked. If you cannot provide employment, then maybe you provide security and forget about the corruption because you are not providing employment. So it's I want you to understand how deep the problem is. There's a way you be fighting corruption, and what you be doing is just wickedness. You're not really doing good because you have not given these people. You are causing a humanitarian crisis. You haven't given them food to eat, and you tell them not to steal. So I want you to understand how deep this problem is, and not to unduly judge people who have not been given any other option, to live. So I want us to look at it holistically. I also think we should move on to the next topic if possible, because there's a lot to discuss, especially our main topic about UK and considering tougher visa rules for Nigerian students. Host, what do you think?
Yeah, I understand. Okay, let's just touch this before we go to the UK.
Mhm.
Still on that, we heard about the OPEC Plus production cuts, which is directly affecting. It affects our host country, our host nation. It also affects where we're coming from because we are also an OPEC member nation. So, what will be the implication? Because this oil conversation, it's all encompassing. It touches everyone. It touches everybody. Once there is a production cut, once there is anything that hampers or trick anything that affects oil production, the whole world feels the impact. The country we are in feels the impact. Our country feels the impact. Washington D.C. feels the impact. It affects inflation. So recently, the OPEC Plus nations, they've agreed, which Russia, Nigeria is also part of. They've come to an agreement that they have a resolution that there will be a oil production cut, which was frowned upon by the NATO EU member nations and the United States. So, what will be the implication of this move by the OPEC Plus nations?
Basically, market prices works on supply and demand and the efficiency of the cooperation between supply and demand, or market forces. A reduction in supply is going to mean that with the demand, which is constant or even increasing because we are getting out of the pandemic and businesses are supposed to be restarting, it only means that the price is going to shoot up. Now, there are geopolitical consequences, but the socioeconomic consequence means that it's a plus for oil producing countries if they can take advantage of the price increase. And it's a minus for oil importing countries because now it's that cost of energy would transfer to reducing disposable income, increasing cost of production of secondary, primary, and even secondary goods, and it could also lead to deindustrialization, which we're seeing in Europe. A lot of industries shutting down is going to only exacerbate it. Now, going to the political, geopolitical aspect, well, the United States have wanted OPEC to increase production to try to control the price. There are lots of people who say that the reduction in production is a way of OPEC Plus, trying to get out of domination by the petrodollar global financial system. While the OPEC Plus members, especially Saudi Arabia, has said that no, they are doing it to protect the market and it has nothing to do with the US, NATO, or even geopolitics. It's just simply an economic move. Well, you can believe whatever you want, but the motive is not as important as the effect. And the effect is going to be this increase in price. But the sad thing about it is that Nigeria, our dear country, cannot take advantage of any trend. They cannot take advantage of any trend. Because if that oil that they're exporting now, let's assume it moved from $1 to $2, it means that fuel that they're importing for $3, they will now be importing it for $6. Who is the donkey? Because if you sell oil, crude oil, for $2 to a country that you're going to buy fuel from or advanced oil products, they are also going to increase the price that you're going to buy that oil, and then they will refer you to the price that they bought your oil. And what can you see? So Nigeria has placed themselves in a very bad place. We also have this another trend, the increase in price of wheat, which is affecting the world with the Nigerian beautiful tropical climate. We could be exporting a lot of food and food products to the world, especially during the scarcity of food. Especially grains, cereals, rice, wheat, and all of barley and all of that. We can be exporting, we can take advantage, we should be able to take advantage of the trend, but because of lack of investment, automation, increase in cost of production, energy is important for automated farming. You need energy, you need fuel, you need energy for that. Otherwise, the cost of your production will be high. So we are not still able to take advantage, position ourselves, take advantage. Instead, the price of our bread in Nigeria is costly because of Russia and Ukraine. It's just a trend. It's just a trend of long-term mismanagement, long-term corruption, and has made us impotent in taking advantage of all kind of trends, socioeconomic, geopolitical. And I hope that it will change. Like you said, Peter Obi is not enough, but I want to stop here. I don't want to take a lot of time. I want us to move on. But these are the effects that the OPEC production cuts are going to have on Nigeria and the rest of the world.
Before I move on, if let me get you correctly, you say that even with the cut in production or whatever the OPEC, the resolution that the OPEC Plus nation decide, Nigeria is important to take even advantage of the slightest change in OPEC Plus decisions.
Even the increase in global price will not benefit Nigeria because countries like Russia will make a lot of money. They will now sell less oil but make more profit. While Nigeria will not be able to, Nigeria will sell less oil but import the same oil that they need, oil products, for more price. So it negates the whole, everything because they don't have enough refineries to channel their oil that they're not exporting to or they're
Just to
producing.
conclude, just to conclude what we're saying before we move over to the UK. What is actually preventing us? Because we've had administration over administration who have given us mouth-watering promises that the refinery will be built, And what is it? Is there a deterrent factor that prevents us from rising up to the occasion, from bringing a proper oil producing nation? What is the problem? Because I don't think that we've had manifestos after manifestos after manifestos, but still nothing is happening. Mr. Mark, probably you coming from the Niger Delta, maybe you
So
have
David.
David, Mr. David, you coming from the Niger Delta, probably you have more inputs to talk about on this. You're muted. You're muted.
Concerning the oil production in Nigeria as a whole, first and foremost, I wouldn't want to call it a spiritual problem because a lot of people are finding it difficult to understand why our refinery is not working. Why can Nigeria operate in a way whereby we can stop importing oil produced from other countries when we have about up to three refineries, Port Harcourt, Delta, Kaduna? It's so alarming. But something when I did my own investigation, what I find out is this: there are some powers in Nigeria, some powerful people who will not allow any government. They will do everything possible to frustrate our refinery from working or frustrate any government from building any refinery. The problem of Nigeria and Nigerians, the problem of that country is from the citizens there. There are some persons who are benefiting from the export of oil to other countries and bringing them back again to Nigeria in a higher purchase. There are a lot of people who are the pillars of that country who are benefiting from it. That is why sometimes it looks like a spiritual problem. So look at before President Buhari came into power, all the promises he made about the oil building refineries, up till now, he cannot even service just one refinery. That will tell you the kind of resistance. There are powers that resist any government. They will resist the government with their finance, with their money. They will make sure that. Are you following me?
Yeah.
There are powers in that country that are willing to spend millions of dollars to make sure that Nigeria continue to export oil outside the country, and they bring it back to Nigeria in that way. They will never
Okay.
allow the refineries to function. Thank
Okay.
you.
Just like you said, you just said that it all boils down to administration, it boils down to leadership and all that. Before I think the time is past, is fast spent. Let's just Dr. Godwin, can you say, we've been hearing about UK tightening the visa, having this tight visa rule policy, especially towards students, Nigerian students, and what kind of implication would it be for most of students in Nigeria who are looking for everything to Japa, this Japa culture. People are looking for opportunity to leave the country, to study with this ASU strike. People are trying to go over there, and from there they try to bring up their relatives to UK. So finally, Dr. Godwin, just give us your final thoughts before we close on that.
Nigeria, because of the condition, the difficult, depressing environment because of poverty. I mean, I'm speaking of generally speaking. Nigerians have conditions to take advantage of any opportunity, any small opportunity you give them. So if you give them an inch, they take a full mile, and you cannot blame them because you find somebody who is so rich, but he still want to steal to the last, and you see somebody who the country just managed to give the person visa, but the person has already been thinking about his grandchildren's visa. So we it's just give us an inch, we want to take a mile. Now UK taking this step in their if they're taking it in their national interest, you might say it's the right thing to do. It's their national interest. But at the same time, when you single out Nigeria, a country you colonized, mm, maybe it's a little bit too pointed, too directed at Nigeria, because I believe it's not only Nigerians that are, you know, that have this behavior. Well, I don't know why the news article was targeted to Nigeria. So if it's actually true that the British Foreign um, Department or Ministry of Foreign Affairs is focusing on Nigeria, if that's the case, then it also seems unfair because it's not only Nigeria, many countries that are from difficult third world countries exhibit this kind of poverty mentality, this mentality where you take more than you can chew, you try to fill your mouth more than your capacity to chew and swallow. And I think should be understandable. And but at the same time, I can't say Nigerian students should invite your family. Please, if you can invite all your family, go ahead. If you can invite all your family, go ahead. If you can even invite
They
your
can
future
invite their generation.
please go ahead because the country is there's the chances you will survive at the current state is less than if you actually left, and went to greener pasture and try to develop yourself in skill wise and all otherwise. So if you can do that, Nigerian students, please go ahead, get all your generations. But we can only beg the UK government to develop Nigeria so that those people want to stay in Nigeria. If you develop Nigeria, they won't be running away. You have lots of multinational companies, Shell, which is operating in Nigeria or have operated for so many years. Develop that place so that people want to stay there and work. Because people like Nigerian food, people like Nigerian climate, they don't like cold. If you give them money there in Nigeria, they will stay there. They won't want to jump. They won't want to
Okay,
leave.
finally,
Mhm.
just we are past. We've spent more than an hour, so I think it's high time we, just like you said. I'm just trying to conclude to round up
Mhm.
the topics that we've mentioned. We've talked about Kanu, talked about the OPEC plus, talked about the oil theft, and we have uh, other developing stories. But I know that next week we'll have to discuss developing stories all around the world, the trends, and all that. And I really want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you, Dr. Godwin Ibe. Thank you, Mr. David, for being with us. And this is Nido Russia Talks. Thank you very much. I'm Nidun Defo, and keep watching.
I also want to add for Nigerians in Russia who are watching us, and Nigerians who are planning to come to Russia to study. There are lots of opportunities in Russia, and Nido Russia is best positioned to serve you and to defend your interests. We have lots of programs running, whether it's our free Russian language classes, whether it's our exchange, money transfer, whether it's our health insurance, and many, many, many other packages which we have for Nigerians here to help them to weather the storm, especially this geopolitical storm that we find ourselves in, which Nigeria didn't cause. So please contact Nido Russia. We are always one step away, or one call away to meeting your needs. Like our host has said, join us once again next week at same time, maybe 9:30, 9:45. And you follow us on our various platforms, so that is Telegram. We're on Telegram. We're on here on YouTube. We're on Facebook, and you can on WhatsApp as well. So feel free to join us on all our platforms. Thank you, all my members who are watching me, all our viewers, and also prospective viewers and fans. Thank you.